Hey there divas, it's me enjoyyyyy and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can tell by the title, today we are going to be looking at all the books that I read in 2024. Okay, this is the start of a new 3-part series. It's my 2024 wrapped. I feel like it's still early enough in the year where it's like okay and like socially acceptable for me to talk about last year. And yeah, so we're starting with books today. I'm not going to ramble on too long. We're just going to jump right into it. So hello, hey, if you look down below, you should see the length of this video and you see how short it is, how succinct it may be, hopefully, if everything goes right in the editing booth. That's because I read a whopping total of 4 books in 2024. I know, it's sad. It's really sad. I actually started and did not finish more books than I actually finished. Yeah, I only read 4 books this year. Last year? I only read 4 books in 2024. 3 of those were novellas and the other one was a book of short stories. So I'm not doing too good on that front, but that's okay because I'm just now getting back into reading. Like, you know what I mean? Everybody and their mother was an avid reader in middle school. I was one of those girls, but then I got to high school and like there was more work, so I couldn't be reading like that. And then I got to college and there was even more work, so I really couldn't be reading like that. Also, that's the 4 books does not include the Twilight Saga. I did reread Twilight this year, but I'm not counting it because it's not new. I've read it a bajillion times, so I'm not counting that. And it's like young adult, like these are like adult books that I read, like grown folks books, like real life books, you know what I mean? Fiction. Fiction, of course. I don't do nonfiction. Well, not to say that I'll never do nonfiction, but like my go-to read is fiction. It's fantasy, it's sci-fi, it's whatever. But yeah, anyways, so I read 4 books this year. Before we talk about what books I did read, we're gonna have to take a little visit to the graveyard, to the cemetery, to the mortuary, to the moratorium, to the sarcophagus, and talk about the books that I started and did not finish that have been laid to rest. I will be coming back to these books. They're not really laid to rest, but these are ones that I started and then they were due back at the library and I wasn't done with them yet, so I just checked them back in, and I'm gonna have to circle back and check them back out again to make sure they get finished. The first book, these are not in no particular order, by the way, they were just in the order that I remembered them in. So the first book that I read and did not finish in 2024 is called The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This is like a high fantasy book. It's super good. Like I got like, I would say maybe halfway through, a third of the way through. It was like what I read was like really good. It's like these, I don't know if you guys want like me to tell you what the book is about so you can go and read it. I definitely would recommend it. I haven't finished it, but I would recommend it based on what I've read. There was some of the subject matter didn't quite sit right with me just because like it's this like weird like fantasy political situation where they're like this one country that's like this one like kingdom that's like basically France colonized like this other kingdom that's like basically like North Africa, you know what I mean, in general. And then they took the people from there and like the younger, you know, like the children from there, and then made them police back in their home country. So they're disrespected on 2 fronts. It's a real unfortunate situation. And I don't love that sort of theme, but within it, the story is really good. So it is interesting, and I will be circling back to it, but it is quite long, so I just couldn't get there. It also, there's 2 parts. There might be a 3rd part coming soon, but I don't know. So far it's only 2. The next book that I started and did not finish is called Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. Okay, this book is right up my freaking alley. Okay, it's fantasy. The main character is a nun, but they're not like Catholic nuns, so it's like a whole different religion or whatever, but it's the same idea as a nun, and it's like super good. I just never finished it. Like it was taking me so long to get through it because I was doing other things besides reading, like playing Sims, that kind of thing. and so I got sidetracked and I just never finished it. I think I checked it out like 2 or 3 times and I still haven't finished it, but I will be coming back because, again, right up my alley, all the kinds of things that I like. The next book that I did not finish is this is so embarrassing to say for every single book. It's called The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This book is really good. It's like sci-fi, and it's like this girl or whatever, and she can like jump through the multiverse basically, and like there's only certain amounts of people that can do it, but she can only go to worlds where her multiverse version of her has already died, because if 2 of you are on the same world, then it gets funky wonky. So basically they jump through these places to like get information from other like timelines and stuff like that. So that's the kind of vibe. It's really good. I literally just did not finish it. I actually didn't crack it open until the day it was due. I was like on the way to the library reading it, and I was like, this is fire, I think I check this out, but never finished it, so I'll be coming back to that. The next book that I started and did not finish is called Enjoyyyyy by Danielle Trussoni. Okay, this book was good. I did get a couple of chapters into it. It's very dense, like it's very dense for the subject matter. It's basically about it's about like angels like on earth, and like I haven't got far enough to know like what's actually tea, but the 2 people who's like, well, I think it switches point of view a couple different times, but the main character that we see is like, I think her name's Ruth, and she's a nun, and then the other character is like this angel, and he's like sick, and the church that Ruth, or the convent that Ruth lives at, they hold all that information about angels and stuff like that. Like that's their thing. So it's very interesting. I really do need to circle back because it was good, and that's also right up my alley, so very intriguing. We'll be finishing that. The next book that I started and did not finish but have been reading is Carrie by Stephen King. This is obviously a classic. I actually never read any Stephen King before. Obviously I've seen the movies, but like I've never actually read one of his books, and I was like, no, like something in my spirit was like, you need to lock in and you need to read Carrie. So I've been reading it. I just kind of pick it up like when I'm on commercial break on my show. I keep it like by my coffee table, like by my couch, and so I just pick it up whenever like I'm like, let me get off my phone, let me read for a minute. And it's really good. It's like really fast paced, and it's interesting the way it's told. Like it switches perspective a lot, which I thought was going to bother me, but it actually doesn't, you know what I mean? Because the story still pushes along. It doesn't feel boring. Very interesting book. Like they do her so dirt in that book. Like they're currently doing her dirt, and I'm not even that far in. The next book that I started but did not finish in 2024, the last book that I started and did not finish actually, is called Nothing But the Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Call. Now I did check this book out again, and I am trying to finish it. I haven't started finishing it yet, but it is in my possession to be finished, you know what I mean? This book is like, they're like at like this old like Japanese mansion or whatever, and they're on a trip. The only problem I have with it is like the main character, I don't mind her, but like everybody in her friend group has some sort of beef with her, and so I'm like, girl, why would you be there? She's like clairvoyant or something, and it's not like explicitly stated, but it's like implied. And like anyways, they all have this weird beef with her, and it's just like weird, and I'm like, that's part's kind of annoying me, like, and it's just, I don't like when people are mean to the main character. Like, don't be mean to her. Like, what is she? Didn't even do nothing to you. Like, she's been locked up. Like, there's not even like literally be nice. Anyways, so that's kind of making it tough to get through, but I'm gonna keep pushing forward because it's supposed to be like super scary. And I've read other Cassandra Call books. It's a novella, by the way. I've read other ones by that author that I will be getting to in a minute. It's just so good. Anyways, I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, that's it. That's The Graveyard of Broken Dreams of books I didn't finish. All of those books will be revisited. None of them I stopped reading because it was bad. It's just literally time caught up to me. I ran out of renewals at the library, and it had to go back. You know what I mean? I had to go back home. But I will be circling back to all of those, and hopefully they'll be on my 2025 books that I finished list, and you'll see me next year talking about them. Anyways, that's it for that section. We now can move on to bigger and better things and talk about the 4 books that I did finish in 2024. Okay, these are I think they're in the order that I finished them. So boom. The first book that I started and finished, I started this over the summer and I finished it over the summer, but it took me a while. It's called Mouthful of Birds by Samantha Schweblin, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's like a collection of short stories all by the author, like wrote all the short stories, and I think it's very good. Some of them were shorter than others, obviously, like it's like varying lengths. Some of them were kind of like, it really wasn't scary. Like there's this one with this dude who's like works in this toy store, and it just was kind of like, I wouldn't say it was boring, like it was still interesting, it's still written well, but like it was just kind of wasn't giving spooky scary. Like I wasn't scared, I wasn't intrigued, I was just like, okay, like he works at the toy store, like slay or whatever. And then the like title story, Mouthful of Birds, is actually really good. It's about like this girl, this like teenage girl who's like been eating birds, and her parents are just like, whatever, like I guess we have to feed you birds now. Like it's kind of real. Very cute little ideas, very nice, very well written. So I most certainly do recommend that book. The next book that I started and finished was Sisters of the Vast Black by Lena Rather. I actually have it on my shelf right now. Like I had to ask for it for Christmas. That's how serious this is, okay? If you know me, you know my two favorite things subject wise are nuns and space, okay? I love those. That's why I love Dune so much, you know what I mean? And so this book is literally just that. Like they're straight up nuns. They're not even like fake like Bene Gesserit nuns. Like they're straight up Catholic nuns, and they live in space, and they live on board this ship. It's called a live ship. It's basically like a pod, and it's like a living, breathing thing. Like it has like lungs and like amoebas and stuff like that, and they live inside it and that's their convent, and they like go around to all the different planets, and they like provide medical care, and they do baptisms and like marriages and stuff like that, and blessings and all that kind of thing. Like it's super cute and super slay, and it is such a good book. All the sisters in it have such like unique personalities. The characters are really well written, and it's short. It's a novella. It's like 100 and something pages. It's delicious. Like I wish I could live in there. Like I want to put that book like in my bloodstream. Like that's how good it is. It's so well written. I'm really hoping we get a third one, because the next book that I read in 2024 was Sisters of the Forsaken Stars, which is the sequel to the first one. Okay, amazing. These books are great. I mean, you can read them in probably in a day. They're beautiful. Like I said, well written, interesting themes. They bringing up great things. They're giving like communion, and then like they're like jumping through hyperspace. Like it's just like, it's like really slay. It's like really slay. And it like Earth in this setting, like it's like really far in the future, and then like Earth is like used to be in charge of all the planets, but then they were like, why would we let you be in charge of us? You're not even like that no more. Like you're not even that girl anymore. And so then there was this whole war. So now the outer planets are like kind of free, but then Earth like is still, the Catholic Church is obviously still on Earth, and so then they're trying to still be important to these outer regions or these outer planets, and then they're trying to use like the sisters and stuff like that to be like, oh, get them under our control. And they're like, girl, we don't even rock with you like that. Like we're literally free. Like we should be out here doing our thing, like, you know what I mean, praising the Lord. So like don't even get in my business like that. It's super good. I literally 100% cannot recommend those two books enough. Okay, finally, the last and final book that I read in 2024 is The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Call. This book, let me tell you, this is one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. Okay, this is also a novella. You see a theme here? You see a theme? It was so good. It's about, dude, like I can't even, like, you just have to read it. It's about a mermaid, and she's like a mermaid, but like she even says, she's like, they call me a mermaid, I'm not even that. Like I'm low-key like streets ahead of a mermaid, but they call her, like the humans call her mermaid. And I thought it was set in like a fantasy world, but I think it's like our world but fantasier, because it doesn't feel like our Earth. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like our regions, our countries. But then in the end she mentions China, so I was like, okay, perhaps. Anyways, it's about a mermaid and a plague doctor, and they like travel the land after the kingdom like burns down. I don't really want to give spoilers, but I don't really know if it's a spoiler. So I guess just won't say anything. Anyways, they're just wandering around trying to find something to do, I guess, after their kingdom burns down. And then they come across this little village of these children, and the children are like killing each other, and they're like, whoa, why are you doing that to your brethren? And they're like, no, it's fine, because they all have this thing. I think it's pronounced bezoar. I don't really know.
Bezoar.
And it's this like little thing. It's basically their soul. That's like this little clump of like, y'all ever did owl pellets in like middle school? It's like that. And so the children basically like die and get killed, and then there's these 3 saints that run their village, and the saints will like well, after the children like kill each other, then they'll take their bezoar, their soul, and they'll put it in a new body, and they'll like sew it up and like use all these mismatched parts, kind of like Frankenstein vibes. And the saints are like immortal, like they can like take out their own eyes and like take out their own hearts and stuff and still like live the next day. It's very, 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 very interesting. Very gory, lots of cannibalistic kind of vibes, lots of meat chewing and whatnot. Very rich description. I was on Reddit and a lot of people were complaining about it. They were calling it like purple prose, which I had never heard of before I saw that. But basically it's when you're like overly poetic and flowery with your language and you use like big words and stuff. I thought it was fit for the setting. I'm like, this is a mermaid. Like she's like primordial too. Like she's like ancient. She's like, even says in her narration or whatever, she's like, look, I'm older than y'all would even believe, and I will live longer than you would even know. So it would make sense for her to talk like that. Like it's in first person POV, so like it would make sense that like she thinks in like these like really like grand kind of ways and like with these big words. Anyways, I'm rambling, but like the book is literally just so good. Like it's so good. Like I had to make a Pinterest board and everything. Like it's serious out here. So I definitely need to read more from that author. But yeah, I definitely 100,000% recommend it. And it's spooky and it's like eerie, and you read it and you're like, and it's then the end you're like, and then you're like, and it's actually low-key a two-parter. Like The Salt Grows Heavy is like the novella, but actually that author had written a short story called And in Our Daughters We Find a Voice, like a couple of years earlier, I think. And so then that short story is put at the end of the book, of the novella, and it's actually more of a prequel though. But they work really well together, and it gives you like so much context for the first one. You don't need that context, but like getting it, you're like, oh my god, questions are getting answered. Like it's beautiful. It's just so, it's gorgeous, and I can't recommend it enough. Like if I could give that to every person on earth that could handle the horror in the body and gore and all that stuff, I totally would gift it to you. That's everything I did. That's everything I read. That's everything I started reading. Hopefully next year the list will be longer. I'm trying, but so far 0 books finished in 2025. Yeah, 0 books finished. Maybe I'll read after this video. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to the books that I read. I hope you guys read these and check them out. They're very, very good. They're very good books. All of these, no complaints generally about these books. Like definitely recommend all of them. And we'll be circling back to those 6 beauties that I left behind. Yeah, we're gonna do better in 2025. We're gonna read more. We're gonna have a longer list by next year, but that's okay. We're doing what we can. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you stay tuned because we have 2 more parts coming to the series. Next up is music, and then we have the star of the show, the movies, because I'm a movie star. You know how these things go. And again, thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video if you liked it. Don't if you don't. Subscribe if you want to, and click the notification bell because you never know when I'm gonna surprise you with a new video. Okay. Yeah, let me go read. I'm gonna go read for like an hour. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.